I'm recording this YouTube episode on a Friday the 18th of June. And in 2 days' time, Sunday, there are going to be quite decisive and important elections, parliamentary elections, taking place in Armenia. So welcome to my latest episode of Nagorno-Karabakh number 20. Following the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and consequent to the defeat of Armenia, a Pandora's box was opened in the political scene. People started criticizing each other, attacking each other, blaming each other for this defeat. And the defeat was not only psychological or moral, the defeat was also physical and territorial. The enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh, known for Armenians as Artsakh, was gutted. Half of it stayed in Armenian hands, the other half went to Azerbaijani hands. Russian monitors came and started playing referee between the two communities. And then over and above that, the danger, the tensions crept from the enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh to the Armenian-Azeri border in the Syunik province, where some Azeri forces came forward in the Black Lake region, and there were tensions galore about what is happening. What is the future of this conflict between those two South Caucasus neighbors? And what, if anything, can Armenia do not only to redeem itself after this bitter loss, but also to secure its future, not only militarily, not only politically, but also in terms of its prospects and its relations, both in its immediate neighborhood and the further territories and regions and countries. So amidst all this, it was decided by the Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan that there should be a parliamentary election to decide once and for all who is the Prime Minister, who is the leader of this country, Armenia, post this devastating war. And at the beginning, I remember most pundits thought that he would just basically breeze in, walk in with a victory because he was very popular and he had come on the back of a popular uprising in order to get rid of oligarchs and corruption and put the country back in order. However, 2 days shy of the election, things aren't as clear as that, neither in terms of the odds and the prospects of the parties in this election, but also in terms of who can do what to help Armenia and Armenians in the Republic and across the diaspora in these difficult times. So you have now quite a number of parties, in fact, 20 parties that are competing for seats in the National Assembly in Yerevan, the capital. But the front runners at the moment are, as I said, the incumbent Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's Civil Contract Party, and also, surprise, surprise, an old face and a face that was a presidential face, Robert Kocharyan's Armenia Alliance, which has allied itself with one of the key Armenian forces that has a lot of resonance in the diaspora as well, the Tashnak Tsuchun party. Now, 20 parties, those are the two, and at the moment they seem to be running neck and neck. Nobody knows how many seats each party will get. Nobody knows really which one will get the majority of seats in order to be able to form a government and move the country forward. And for me, moving the country forward means what really? At this stage, where the country is debilitated, Militarily, it has received a huge shock, and it is performing well below par. Then also economically, demographically, the refugees, the relationship between Nagorno-Karabakh and Armenia, the relations, future or present, between Armenia and Turkey, between Armenia and the European Union, let alone, I suppose, between Armenia and the United States. All these questions are up in the air at the moment, and to some extent they depend, not entirely, but to some extent, they depend on the outcome of those elections on the 20th of June, just 2 days from today. And the answers that the election results might provide us with are: who? Pashinyan, Kocharyan, or a different coalition can resolve the country's different plural crises in the short term. We're not even talking long term, we're not even talking medium term at the moment. And also, what will be Armenia's democratic and economic development progress in the long term? In other words, who is going to do the planning, and what will be the planning? When we look at the situation at the moment, the military, as I said, is underperforming drastically, where the foreign ministry is pretty much on strike because everybody is resigned, and the two leading candidates, Kocharyan and Pashinyan, are tearing bits out of each other. And guess what? The diaspora is quite evenly divided between those who support Pashinyan and those who support Kocharyan, and never the twain shall meet. If you find two people with two different candidates that they're backing, you can well imagine the tensions in that conversation too, outside the country, the republic, let alone inside the republic itself. So in a sense, what I'm saying is that those election results are decisive. They're important. They're important because they would draw a picture, a prism of what might be the future for this country that is under a lot of threat. I mean, losing half of the enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh was in itself a disaster for many Armenians. But having those tensions on the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan not only shows military ineptitude, not only shows a lack of planning, but it also is very dangerous for the very being of Armenia. So a lot needs to be done once those elections are out of the way. But how and what will those results be, and how will they translate themselves in practice? This is why, as I said in my previous number 19, I'm going to share with you today in the description box a few links. The first one, coming back to one of my favorite sources or reference points, is about the Armenian vote, hashtag ArmVote21, and what is happening in the ranks. This is one of the latest political insights by Eric Hacopian via CivilNet TV. Have a listen to it. I always enjoy those political insights. They're only about 10-15 minutes long, but Eric Hacopian packs in a lot in those 10-15 minutes, and some of what he says is quite critical and quite challenging of where things are in Armenia today. Another one is one of my favorite think tanks, is the Crisis Group, and they came up with a briefing called Post-War Prospects for Nagorno-Karabakh. Again, I very much encourage you to read this and see what Crisis Group thinks. It's a wonderful think tank. I read them and I follow them a lot when it comes to the Middle East, North Africa, and Gulf region. But they've also got a very good set of analysts for the South Caucasus, not least Alicia herself. And therefore, perhaps you might wish to read their latest briefing on the region. Another one, of course, is one that really, really upset me. It upset me because it was nothing more than distasteful and insipid triumphalism when the presidents of Turkey and Azerbaijan, Erdogan and Aliyev, came to Shusha. We know it as Armenians as Shushi. It doesn't matter. It's the same place, and a letter will not change much practically these days, in which they were basically boasting, gloating, showing how they'd won over the key town of Shushi and what they were going to do. They were talking about the exchange of 15 prisoners of war, Armenians, who were sent back via Georgian mediation to Armenia, versus acquiring a map of the minefields that Armenians had planted so that they could avoid them. But that wasn't the thing that really got to me. The thing that really got to me, and I'm quite cool when it comes to politics, but I found it rather distasteful because it was very much in your face kind of jingoism, kind of triumphalism by those two presidents of Turkey and Azerbaijan. And it really was unnecessary because one has to be magnanimous in victory. And in my opinion, those two presidents were certainly not being magnanimous in victory. Another link I will put there is the insights, for want of another word, or comments or remarks, observations made by Berj Setrakian. Berj Setrakian is the president of the Armenian General Benevolent Union, the AGBU. You might recall that he and Catholicos Karekin II of Holy Echmiadzin went and visited parts of Armenia that are bordering the crisis, as well as Karabakh or Artsakh, and he came back with some very, very weighted, poised, and relevant observations. I very much encourage you to read his observations. All these links are short ones. You're not going to spend an hour. They're not long reads, they're not long watches, they're short ones, but they encapsulate the whole thing and they give you a good idea of what's happening. And finally, if you want to know a little bit the mechanics of the elections in 2 days' time on Sunday, as to how many percentage points does a party need to win in order to be able to rule or to form a government? What if there is an alliance? For instance, like the Armenia alliance, how many percentage points have they got to garner in votes in order to be able to form a government, etc., etc. So for that, I also put a final link, and I think that's enough. You've got 5 in this 20th episode, and it's called The Devil in the Details, Snap Elections in 2021. And why does CivilNet TV call it snap elections? Because, as I explained at the start of this episode, those elections were meant to take place in 2023. They're now taking in 2021 in the hope, some would say forlorn hope, but I'm a bit more optimistic, in the hope that the outcome, the results, will help Armenians get their house in order and be able to move forward and plan for the future rather than live in this disheveled, politically speaking, disheveled situation in which they find themselves now. This is all I have to say. And just to add that a word of thank you to the ICRC, to the International Red Cross, as well as to Halo Trust, the demining charity. Both are doing excellent work in Nagorno-Karabakh, and they need to be commended and kept in our political imagination. These are two organizations that are not Armenian, and yet that are contributing a lot to the welfare and peace of this region. So I'll end up with a very simple wish. I hope, in Armenian we say Guhusam, Paitshuise Medze. I hope that the elections on the 20th will yield results that will not produce more cantankerous confrontations between parties disputing the outcome, but one that will make Armenians realize that instead of wasting their energies fighting each other, they might do better if they were to waste their energies building up the country and building up their future, that of the Republic, to which is associated, of course, the whole diaspora. Take care, good luck, and I wish you a productive and challenging weekend. All the best.